Good afternoon, my name is Rob Pollard and I'm the software developer for Sojour, the solo VTT. This will be a relatively short video to discuss the enhancements that have been made to Sojour's file system handling. Now in the past, Sojour always saved its data to documents, Polysoft Sojour, and you had no choice. And the reason why that folder was chosen is because basically Microsoft recommendations suggest that your applications save their data under documents. However, this did present a few issues to many of my customers because they'd have their documents folder mapped to some network location and it just caused lots of problems. So what this update does is it allows Sojour to store its data anywhere or anywhere that it can reach. And you get that choice right from the time you first run it, and you can even change it part of the way through. So the first thing you'll notice with Sojour, at least this version, if you look bottom right, you actually now have a little bit of text in the status bar which tells you where it's taken its data from. So in this case, it's actually taking it from my D drive, VTT Sojour. So already we have proof that this isn't the Sojour you know, because we're actually reading data from a completely different place. And I do provide you with a file manager to do lots of advanced bits and pieces, and I'll show you those later. So the next thing I want to do, I want to show you what happens when you run Sojour up for the first time, just to take you through what your options are. So here we are, I've just uninstalled everything, cleared out all my data directories, so almost like the machine's brand new, and I'm about to run Sojour for the first time. So what happens with this new system? Well, the first thing is you'll get this dialog window asking you whether or not you want to use the default setting of Documents Polysoft Sojour, and it does default to yes. And I would suggest for the majority of my users, you're going to hit yes, and at that point Sojour will open up just like it's always opened up in the past. However, if you're a power user, or perhaps that's just not a very good place for you to store your data, you can click no at this point now, and then you get given this dialog window where you're offered the choice to pick a folder and even create folders to stick Sojour in. Now this system is designed to also pre-check whether Sojour can talk to the location you've picked. So for example, on most PCs, you're not allowed to talk to the C drive, at least the root location. So if we pick C drive just to trigger this and hit OK, we should see a message come out because Sojour's actually testing whether or not the location's suitable. There you go. Unsuitable directory, Sojour can't access it, and then it gives you the error message. It's basically saying access to that path is denied. And then it'd be up to you then to either give Sojour permissions or do what it says here and pick another directory. So this takes you back to the option where you can either pick a custom directory or go back to the default. I'm now going to pick the default, and what we're going to do, we're going to move things around once we've got the default up and running. So let's just hit yes. So at this point, Sojour's just like it's always been. The data is being saved right now to documents, Polysoft Sojour, and you can see that bottom right. And what I'll do, just so that we can identify this, I'll add a rule set, and we'll just call it Sojour 1, and that way we know this is our first one that we've done. Cool, see, we've got Sojour 1 in there, just so we can identify it. So we've got our system saving to a particular place, but Sojour offers a file manager now, and you can get to it several ways. You can either right click the root node and pick open file manager, or you can double click the data path down here to get to the file manager, or you can double click Sojour up here to get it. There's lots of ways to get to it, so let's run it up and see what it does. So this is Sojour's file manager, and it presents you with quite a few options, and I would suggest these are kind of your power user options, I guess, because I suspect the majority of customers won't need to use this, but it is really handy. So the first thing you see is the location where your data is currently being read from, and that should match what you see bottom right here. And then you get given all these different options. I'll take you through what they all do first, and then we'll actually demonstrate some of them. So move data folder, that pretty much does what it says, where if you've got an active game in a particular location, when you click this, you can actually move the entire thing somewhere else. And that's really handy because you might have a reason for wanting to move your data somewhere else. You also have this function, which is pick a different data folder, and this one's a little bit different insofar as you could have multiple folders, each with its own social data, and this allows you to pick between them. And it's handy for me because, for instance, I have 4 or 5 different social configurations. I have one that I use for the manual, I have one that I use for video demos, I have one for my own personal campaigns, and with this feature I can switch between all of these different data sets very easily. And also, as an added feature of this one, if you pick a folder that doesn't have a social game in it, it will create a brand new social game in that folder, and that way you can create as many different instances as you feel you need. And again, I'll demonstrate that later. The other 2 options are related. You have create backup, and all that does enables you to pick a different location, and then Sojour will quite literally take an entire copy of your data directory and pop it into that new location. And there's nothing, I guess, proprietary about that. It's just like a normal Sojour save. So if you were to create a backup to a particular directory and then maybe pick that folder as one of your folders you want to use, it would just work as normal. The other function is restore from backup. It's a bit of a dangerous one, and you will get a warning dialog pop up if you do pick it. And what that will do, it will erase your current session, and that's what makes it dangerous, but it will replace it with the contents of another set of social saves, normally from a backup. And that's probably going to be the first thing I'm going to show, but I'll just go on to the last option, which is cleanse data. Now, Sojour has, I guess, 1 or 2 oddities, which I coded at the time thinking it's a good thing, and I kind of still think it was a good thing. So, for instance, when you delete a journal in Sojour, another journal gets deleted from Sojour, Sojour doesn't actually delete the data file. And the reason why I did that is I figured, you know, players put a lot of time and effort into their journals, and you don't want to be in a position where somebody's accidentally deleted something and they can't recover it, because that would be bad for everybody involved. So Sojour always leaves the files behind, and in that way you can browse to that directory and recover it if you need to. But the downside is that if you've been playing Sojour for a while, your game folder gets clogged up with lots of files that perhaps aren't needed anymore. So what this button does, it'll go through your Sojour data directory and find any file that's not being used, and if it's not being used, it deletes them. So a word of warning with this one: if you're using Sojour's data directories to store your own custom files, don't use this command, because this will delete your custom files. It only leaves files behind that Sojour is actually using. Another thing it will do as well is a data integrity check on your currently loaded data, and where there are discrepancies in the data, it will fix those discrepancies. It's quite a handy little feature. Unfortunately, I can't really demo that because it's one of those things, it happens very, very quickly, and yeah, it's very difficult to show what it's doing. But it's handy nevertheless. So what we're going to do, we've created obviously a Sojour, standard Sojour environment. It's in the usual place, Documents, Polysoft, Sojour. And what I'm going to do, I actually made a backup before I did this video of my RuneQuest campaign. I backed up to my NAS drive. So what we're going to do, we're going to overwrite this with a copy of that. So we're effectively restoring from our backup. So let's go restore from backup. It'll ask you whether you want to do this, because like I say, this will overwrite your current game. So be careful. You are given this warning. You get a choice to run away, as it were, but we're not. We're going to go straight for it. And again, you get the browse folder dialog, and I know that my save systems on my NAS drives under Documents, and I think I put it under Sojour Backups. Let's have a look. And RuneQuest. That's my RuneQuest campaign. And then hit OK. Let it do what it needs to do, and what it'll do, it'll copy over your backed up data into your current place, which is in this case Polysoft Sojour, and restore the system to using that. So it's a great way to get your backups and restore them. And there you go. There's my RuneQuest campaign. We're ready to go on this. What was a blank. That's the courthouse. One of my really badly hand drawn maps. So yeah, and that works really great, because as I say, you can have many different sets of data, social bits of data, and then you can restore them over perhaps a new game. Or if something went badly wrong here, I could, provided I took a backup, because you need the backup first, you can restore it. What I would say is let's open it up from here by double clicking this. What I would say is the restore from backup, it doesn't need to be a backup. It could be any set of social save data and it will restore from there. So pretty handy. So okay, what if I no longer want to have it on a C drive? Maybe I want to move everything to the D drive. Let's go do that. So for that, you use the move data folder option. And again, you're presented to this screen here. And I say this screen does test your folders to see if you're given it a legitimate folder. So for instance, if I pick the C root, it should tell me that's a bad idea. Yeah. Alternatively, maybe we try to move it into an existing game, and it should tell me not to do that as well. So we go to Polysoft, and that, and then we OK that. It should tell me, yeah. So it's saying there, the selected directory is already a social save data. Please don't do this. So there's plenty of safeguards built in. Right, let's go and move this onto the D drive just to show that we can move this around. So there's always too many options. This I think it's a desktop or computer. No, this PC. That's it. Right. So, and then we pick the D drive, and you don't need to go with the folders that are there. You can create brand new ones. So let's go create sub. So I'll call this one VTT, and I'm going to put another folder under there called Sojour. It's always handy in Sojour's case to go 2 levels deep, and the reason for that, which I'm beginning to wonder whether it's a good idea or not, but the reason for it is Sojour saves its data under obviously the folder you pick, but whenever it runs its upgrade scripts, the upgrades tend to be saved in a folder higher up, so in this case under VTT. And the reason why Sojour saves the backups at a higher up level is because it assumes in the worst case scenario, say an upgrade failed spectacularly, which thank God hasn't happened yet, but if it did, the chances are the Sojour folder itself could be corrupt, which is why the updates always, the backups always save the folder up. So I do recommend going 2 folders down, but it's not necessary. You can pick VTT. It just means that your backups will end up at root level, that's all. So we're going to go for that, hit OK, and then Sojour will move your game across. And you can tell it's moved across because it actually says there. And if we go to our file explorer, you should see that under documents, the Polysoft folder is no longer there. Well, it's there, but there's nothing in it. Completely empty. And that's because everything's been moved to the D drive, VTT, and there we are. It's all been moved there. So it's a really handy set of functions that you can move anything around. You can restore, create backups, cleanse data. And what we're going to do now, we've got a RuneQuest game. Let's say we want a different game. Say, okay, we want to keep this RuneQuest game going, but maybe we want a completely different social instance. All you need to do is quickly pick a different folder. And as I said earlier, this has kind of 2 options. If you pick a folder that already has a game in it, it will use that game. If the folder you pick has nothing in it, it will create a brand new game. So, I don't know, let's create a new folder on the D drive. Let's call it Sojour 2. Hit OK. And now we have a brand new instance of Sojour in Sojour 2, and we can, create and add a rule set and do all the other things that you tend to do. So, and of course, at this point, I can continue playing with this one in Sojour 2. And once I've finished, maybe I want to go back to the RuneQuest one. Then all you need to do is double click that, pick a different data folder, go to where the RuneQuest one was, which was under VTT Sojour, hit OK. And that will switch out your current game, and it saves your current game. So you don't lose that game, and we can prove that by going back to it. So we've now got all the RuneQuesty stuff, although this actually has all my other campaigns in it, so I'm running quite a few campaigns at the moment. But say, okay, I've done everything I want to do on this one, and I want to go back and maybe go back to that brand new game. Again, you double click and then pick a different folder, go to where your other game was, which was Sojour 2, hit OK, and it's restored to that. And it enables you, in effect, to have multiple Sojour configurations that you can switch between. And you can always see which one you're currently running, bottom right, or by running up the file manager, and that will always tell you as well. So I guess that's what I wanted to show you folks. It took me a lot of coding. It was something like, what was it, 3 days plus 5 hours, so what's that, 24, about 29 hours, 28, 29 hours it took me to code this. It was, yeah, big, hard work. But I think it's worthwhile. It helps me personally because I have a number of different Sojour instances that I use for these video demos, for my own personal campaign, and for the manual. And in the old days, it used to be a right faff having to, copy files around and move files around. But now Sojour can do this automatically with its file manager. And the best thing is, based on the feedback I've had from my customers, that for those that can't save to the default Sojour directory, that's no longer a problem, because when Sojour first starts, you go pick somewhere where you want your data to be other than perhaps documents. So that's all I want to show. I hope you folks like what you see. And again, like most brand new functionality, it's the first iteration, and I'm sure that as more you folks use it, as I use it more, we'll get more ideas on what we can do with this and enhance it going forward. But I'd like to thank my customers for their feedback. It's been really great, and I know there might be a few of you back there thinking, why have you brought this out this week? What about the other features? And I will get to them. I do have a really good management system in Jira which keeps track of every one of your requests. And if I've made a story for it, they will be done at some point. You just need to bear in mind there's one of me. Now, the reason why this one got to the top of the queue is because the 3 or 4 customers that talked to me about this, they just couldn't use Sojour at all. It was like completely off the table for them because of the way their documents folder was configured. Sojour couldn't write to it, and that would cause Sojour to crash whenever it tried to update itself. It's a critical failure for them, basically, and it's because of that I thought, okay, let's move this to the top of the queue, and at least we can get everybody with a working version of Sojour. So yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.